Okay, so to continue with Tomi Lahren, part 2, I'm just going to pick up right where I left off from part 1, talking about careers, and I think I just finished that part, so now I'm going to move on to her perception of value. So she's talking about value, right? Now you'll notice she didn't say anything about intrinsic value. She didn't say anything about like having a good character, having good morals, being a kind person, being a generous person, planning for the future, planning to have children. She didn't say any of that stuff. And she's supposed to be a trad con, right? She's supposed to be a traditional conservative woman. But yet you can tell where her real values are. Her real values lie in outward, materialistic, money, fame. She's talking about a career, like everybody should have a career and you should value these things. And she doesn't really give anything valuable to value. As I was saying, we all need money. That just goes without saying. But when it comes to anything of value, such as family values, such as raising good children, right? She didn't mention anything about that. And this is how you know these tradcon women and people they're kind of just phonies. Like they represent the outward, manifestation of success and, God will bless us and blah, blah, blah and all this. It's just phony. Not to say that liberals aren't phony, not to say that Democrats aren't phony. They're just as phony, but just in different ways, right? It's all hypocrisy. Like people who are political front people in the mainstream media, it's just hypocrisy, right? So she represents that Republican side of hypocrisy, and honestly, she really kind of gave herself away. Like, this is just thought talk, This is just a thought who's trying to flex, trying to act like she has so much value, and trying to validate herself, and really she just falls flat on her face, and she looks like she just looks like a bitch. She looks like a narcissist, So again, when she's talking about value, it's her perceived value. It's what she thinks is valuable, and she exposes that what she thinks is valuable is outward in nature, right? A woman who thinks like this is probably going to end up unhappy, right? A woman who doesn't have family values, who doesn't love and cherish her children, but all she can think about is like her career, and all she can think about is, having more things and having a bigger house and success and all this stuff that probably goes through her head. She's probably going to end up unhappy, right? And if not, she's just going to be a vapid, career woman. She's just going to be a vapid, materialistic person who's going to pass that down onto her children. Her children are going to be just as vapid and materialistic as her, and society doesn't need that. I mean, you're supposed to represent Christian values, but yet the only values that you are hyping up are money and your career. It's just silly, right? So she's a hypocrite, sorry to say. Unfortunately, and maybe she's young and she'll grow out of it and realize the error of her ways. I don't know, but it doesn't look good at this point for her. If you know anything about Christian values, it's not about money and success and career. I mean, that's not what Christian values are if you actually read the Bible. I mean, I can't imagine a Christian who doesn't actually read the Bible, but here we have all these weirdo Republicans, who just ride the train of, I'm a trad con, and maybe you have some traditional values, like maybe you believe in family, God, and country, but what does that really mean? Like, well, if you really read the Bible, if you believe in traditional values, then the Bible should be your cornerstone. The Bible should be, the main part of your family. It should be, your whole family should read it. And if you actually read the Bible, it doesn't talk about becoming a millionaire, becoming successful in your career. It's not what the Bible's all about. But you have these weirdo Christians who twist and distort that. People like Joel Osteen, who turn the gospel into a gospel of prosperity, which the Bible is not about at all. Okay, I'm just here to let you know it's the opposite of that. In fact, the Bible promises that you will suffer, right? For following Christ. That's just the nature of being a Christian. Christ suffered. Christ was actually a homeless person. He walked around healing people. It's just silly. These trad cons just don't even read the Bible themselves or get the basic core tenets, and to come out and have this narcissism, to be so narcissistic, to even say, point the finger at men when you're supposed to have Christian values. It's just silly. It's really silly and kind of sad, right? So that brings me to my next point, which is the title of these videos, which is that we should feel sorry for somebody like Tomi Lahren. We really should. We should feel sorry for women like Tomi Lahren, okay? First of all, she's getting used, right? So she's fornicating, she's having sex, so you can just throw that trad con shit out the window. Like, that's all hypocrisy. You're just riding the train. You're a pretty girl, right? You might have some Republican beliefs or, Republican tenets. I don't know anymore. Like, I feel like all these media people, they're all just phonies. Even the talk show people or whatever. So just phony. Everything about television is phony. Maybe there's some truth in the news, maybe, but it's just, I wouldn't trust it. But bottom line, she's getting used, and this is what she kind of exposes, the fact that she's getting pumped and dumped. She's getting fucked and chucked. It's just what's happening. And it's obvious. Okay? It's obvious, She doesn't realize that she's being narcissistic, and she's trying to get her way. And this is what feminism is. This is what feminism does, right? It's trying to get my way because I'm a woman and I deserve it because women power. And it's like, you can't be a feminist and a trad con at the same time. They don't mesh. It doesn't work, because trad cons have traditional values, and traditional values are not for a woman to be in a workplace. They're not for a woman to have a career. There's traditional Christian values are for a woman to be at home raising kids and for the man to work. Sorry to say, that's just what it is. That's in the Bible. That's what it is. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be like that. You can have a career, maybe, but if that's all you value, which is what it shows, then you really are not. You really don't have traditional values. You have modern values, and that's what feminism does, right? That's what feminism gets you. It says women can do everything the man can do. Now the roles are reversed, and this is why women are, so unhappy, because women are supposed to be men. They're not supposed to be, women are supposed to be women. They're not supposed to be men, right? They're not supposed to be men. They're not supposed to act like men. They're not supposed to do things men do. And you could say, well, what are we supposed to, like, okay, like, go work, but you're not going to be happy. This is why women are so unhappy, because they're doing things that men are doing. They're doing things that men are supposed to do, right? Anyway, so feminism says women can have their cake and eat it too, insofar as expecting everything from men and bringing nothing more to the table than sex in themselves. Well, Tomi Lahren thinks that by bringing a career to the table, she's somehow superior than that concept. Well, she's still really, if you break it down, she's still really relying on her looks, because all women rely on their looks. It's just kind of biology and nature. I don't agree with it. I have a problem with it. I always have, but it's kind of the way it is. So she's kind of double unhappy. Like, she's like, hey, I got to do all the things that, I'm doing all the things that a man can do, and I'm successful, right? But she doesn't realize, of course, she's successful because she's pretty, right? It's a big damn part of it. If she wasn't pretty, she would not be successful. She would not be who she is. Okay. And then she expects a guy to still do all the things the guy's going to do, and not only that, he's got to be higher and better than her at those things, because women are hypergamous. They're not going to date down, and most of the time they don't date unilaterally. They date up. So her standards are through the roof. Sorry, this is what happens when women are famous. They really can't hold down a quality relationship. Most of them can't handle it. So, yeah, that's bottom line. All she really has to bring is sex, and that's what women have to bring, is they have sex, right? Not only that, she's experiencing gynocentrism, right? Her narcissism has its foundation in gynocentrism. It just does, right? And gynocentrism says that women have value simply for existing. So she thinks probably, and it's probably part of her psychology, that, I'm pretty, I'm successful, I should have the top cream of the cream. And yet you're not getting the top cream of the cream. You're still getting pumped and dumped. You're still getting fucked and chucked. So she has no self-crit. There's no, looking at herself outside of herself and saying anything like, hey, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I need to be nicer. Maybe I need to have a better personality instead of being this narcissistic weirdo. But no, she wants to blame men. And that's the core of her whole problem. She's not looking at herself. Right? So, because gynocentrism says that women have value, in and of themselves without needing to do anything else. And of course, feminism backs this up. Like, you're fine just the way you are, girl. Well, men aren't fine just the way we are. We have to bring something to the table. We have to bring finances and resources, or else there's no way we're going to get chosen by any woman. But yet all they have to do is exist. Well, that's really not fair. And actually, men aren't asking for much. We didn't ask Tomi Lahren to have a career. All we really are asking for is for her to not be a bitch, is for her to just have a good personality, help us out, be kind to us, help us in life, which is what you're supposed to do as a wife. Okay. But no, she can't do that. She expects the world, right? So, this type of narcissistic attitude, because of gynocentrism, because of feminism, it creates serial daters, right? Serial sluts, women who are constantly just getting pumped and dumped, fucked and chucked. And sometimes they get tired of it, but mostly they enjoy it. I mean, and then they complain about men, but they're out getting fucked, and it is what it is. So I don't believe that Tomi Lahren is a trad con. She's a modern woman who's benefiting from gynocentrism and feminism, and this is what gynocentrism does, right? It makes women think that men owe them something just for existing. Okay. And then of course I mentioned hypergamy, which is, dating up, and it tells women that they deserve the absolute best men in the world, and they don't have to give anything in return besides, of course, sex, right? I'm going to talk about that in a second. Tomi and women like her are playing into hypergamy by chasing men of value. This is what they do. They're not going to date down, right? And again, it's her perceived value, and her value is a man who's in the top 5 to 10%. That's just what it is, right? Of all men in the looks, money, status category. So he's got to be the best looking, top 10%, the best earner in money, top 10%. And status, she's got status. He needs to be famous, right? She's not going to date some regular Joe. Probably not, right? Unless he's rich, or again, he just is super good looking, right? Because she's got hypergamy through the roof, right? So what does this mean? It means it leaves 90 to 90% of the rest of us out of the loop. We got no chance with someone like Tomi Lahren. She's not going to date a regular dude. Oh, she just loves him. No way. Women do not operate that way. Women don't, or at least women of today, certainly aren't really looking for love. They're looking for resources. They're looking for status. They want to be a power couple, all this shit. And it doesn't come out of a place. It doesn't come out of a healthy place. It comes out of a selfish place. And it's, how can you have love in that scenario? So guys are running from you. Quality guys. I mean, anyway. So there's a lot of potential men out there who could have loved her and been the right one for her, but because she's selfish and narcissistic, she won't find that guy. She'll find, Mr. Right for all the things that she wants, and this is what women think love is. They think it's the guy who checks off all my boxes, right? No, that's not what love is, right? Women treat love as if it's like buying a car. Well, it's got to have, dual airbags. It's got to have AC. It's got to have a sunroof. It's got to have surround sound. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like all these standards that are like kind of superfluous. It's like, hey, you know what? You want somebody who loves you and who's going to be with you through thick and thin. That's why the marriage vows say through better or for worse, through richer or poorer, through sickness and in health. Those are for real. Those vows are for real. But nobody pays attention to that shit anymore. It's all about looks, money, status. That's what women want. So, Tomi Lahren is in a perpetual state of, getting pumped and dumped, getting mad at men, getting fucked, and never really finding anything worthwhile because she doesn't have any worthwhile values. It's a self-fulfilled prophecy. She doesn't, and this is like so many women of today. they go through that kind of post-carousel stage where they're looking for this guy and they don't realize that they're going to have to compromise some things. Some of them get smart and then they learn to compromise so that they can have, the guy with the resources. But, you should have looked for love when you were 20, not 30. Okay, that just goes without saying.